Hey,
Hey,
how's everything? How's Bangkok?
good, good, good. Welcome everyone back to the Sunday Startup Podcast. Wait, is it
Yeah,
Sunday Startup? Yeah,
we are
yeah,
still figuring it out. It's okay. I
yeah,
think we'll go with it and natively, organically. I think we'll figure it out.
yeah.
So yeah, thanks everyone for watching this. It was a few weeks since we didn't have any call with Ken, so like bunch of topics happened, different things. Ken launched a new business officially. Congrats, Ken. Um,
Oh,
and,
thank
ma-
you, thank you.
and many different things happen around tech and VC industry. I think we are definitely not able to cover even all everything things because I have so many different things recently, but I think what is the main thing for you can happen if you can summarize one big thing.
Sh- So, what has happened in the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I would say so. We're launching Revive. So, I've been investing a lot of my time into content. So, I would say that that's something I want to talk about later.
Mm-hmm.
Is
Mm-hmm.
what efforts I'm making and kind of get some feedback on what
Yeah,
you
that's
think
cool.
about it. Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. I also have one big thing. It's also important milestone for Creator CI. I got a small round from my partner
Another
finally.
one. Oh, okay.
It
The
was
one
the
you
it
mentioned. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, the one I mentioned but it was in preparation. We were discussing terms and it took some time, and the founder, my co-founder, who was like initially the operational, he completely turned into investor, and we agreed on terms, and now we're launching some different new activities. We have now budget for testing more different hypotheses and testing it faster. So now we're also like have some new impulse in the project, and I'm testing a couple new channels. But yeah,
You just remind me.
uh,
I feel like I haven't seen Creator AI as frequently lately. I don't know if it's just me or it's going out as often as it was.
yeah, exactly. We didn't really change anything. I guess it's your inbox. And probably you was not
Really, I
reading it.
always clean everything in my inbox. That's strange.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I'll look. Maybe I just missed it.
Yeah, or maybe we change something in our subject lines. Yeah, that's a good question. Like, please check it out. Let me know
Yeah.
if it lands in spam or in promo folder. Shouldn't be a big deal. Actually, we
I
cleaned it
use
up.
the Substack inbox, so nothing goes into spam.
Ah, okay. So
So
you use Substack application to read newsletters.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay. How about those newsletters based on Beehive? How do you read them? You read them in different inboxes.
I don't really read anything from Beehive.
That's strange. Beehive has a lot of cool newsletters. I
Yeah, I there are some, and like I will occasionally open up one of those emails, but
Yeah.
I don't like with my Substack. I systematically open everything.
Uh-huh. I see. I see. You have a pattern, behavioral
Yeah,
pattern.
I clean the inbox, so like that's
Yeah.
just my mindset. So if there's something I'm not reading, I
Ze-
just don't. I stop.
zero emails inbox. That's the problem,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah. Almost like getting things done, right? The same
yeah.
same idea. Um, well, anyway, yeah, that's important thing to check because we were cleaning our list a lot, like almost double of active emails were landed to trash. I mean, like we just archived them, of course, but
Maybe
there
that's
was
what happened. Is you put my email into the
yeah,
trash.
that could be a case, to be honest. We need to check it
Yeah,
because if you were not active, not engaged in recent like 3 months, yeah, we would
but
check
I'm
it.
very active. I open everything every
Well,
week.
then that shouldn't be a case. So yeah, and we got our metrics, key metrics. We see them going up. So
Yeah.
and it
Good.
should only have positive effect. Well, another thing that recently happened to me, I cannot just. It was. It was quite interesting how it connected because I was in Paris in the conference. I told you at the alumni reunion in Paris, and these guys I studied with, and they were my like university mates and guys from the same university club, student club. Now most of them, 95% of them, they chose um, a corporate ladder, and they work in really cool companies all around the world. They work in best investment banks, best retail brands, startups, tech, like all kind of industries. VC, some guys even work in funk. Um, so yeah, really a huge wide of
Which
industries, and
university
very
is this?
few. That's a mix of universities.
Oh, okay.
It's not related to one university. It's
Gotcha.
related to mix of universities in Russia, where I'm originally from.
Yeah. Did
Most
you
of
go to
them are
MGU?
yeah.
MGU. Yeah.
MGU is like Moscow State University. Like it's probably one of the most known. But these guys, most of them, they came from St. Petersburg State University because St. Petersburg State University has the best best business school in Russia. It's called higher business school or something, higher business school of management. Yeah, and it's actually in all the list of these Financial Times best master degrees for management and stuff like that. So they're good in rankings. They're very very well known. I think after war started, definitely not. But now they're just all universities eliminated from all rankings. But before it was quite a good place to study. And these guys now work in a lot of different companies. Most of these companies are like super performing, cool company, and it's very interesting to learn what they are doing there. And in fact, very sad fact, this conference it was for like most achievers and like high like A grade students, guys who were doing some extracurricular activities and really like performing and proactively doing different stuff while studying in university, and very very few of them actually doing their own business. That's actually quite a bad thing. And I was that was my main question after meeting all these guys. I met like 50 different guys over the weekend. I mean, talked to these guys and had some good time. We went party in restaurants, so on and so on. And I had a question like, why, if you are so smart, you guys are not doing your own career? Like, why you are not launching your own companies? That's so much more interesting, and the upside is much bigger. You can
Yeah.
at the same year, the same age, they would be probably they would be able to become a shareholder of a smaller, much smaller company, but that's a different status, a
Well,
different lifestyle.
yeah, but I've seen both sides of this. So, I think starting your own company is sexy and cool when you have like a VC backed company and you can pay yourself a nice salary. It's very different when like, you just got out of school and you do a startup and you don't even pay yourself and you're living like a poor person, right? Like, and that's the reality for most of these small businesses, and a lot of them just won't work for quite a while. And whereas like if you get a nice job in a bank or consulting or something, like all of a sudden you're living a nice life and you get used to that. And honestly, like it's a safer way to get kind of middle rich, right? Like if you just look at the compounding,
Yeah.
if you did like 150, 200,000 total comp per year, and then you invested all that in the market, like you would be a millionaire before you're 30. Like early 30s, you're a millionaire already, and you took no risk. So the numbers actually work out such that, like in a way, like those people are doing the smart thing. But at the same time, I think people like us, we understand running your own business is a great thing, and like you're more passionate, and it's like it sets off different goals, at least for me.
Yeah, exactly. I think that in bigger perspective, probably if you are if you're expecting some kind of a lifestyle, and you have some, let's say, like minimum, right? You agree on, even if you are doing your own business, your startup, you will very unlikely fall down and stay below this minimum for years, right? You'll because you are motivated by it. If it's a minimum for you, it's like a physical need, and you will do whatever requires. You will do extra mile work. You'll start consulting extra hours, other companies and startups. You will probably have some side hustle gigs. You will launch small pet projects. You will find a way how to earn this money and get this minimum. I think the lifestyle and the quality of life you're living is one thing, and yeah, making your financial financial freedom, or having a stable financial situation in your bank account, that's probably yeah, of course, like doing a corporate thing is more risk averse strategy to get it. But the upside and the fact that in the business you may have many situations where you just work 1 year, and the next 9 you'll just earn money from working hard, or working on a good idea for this year, and then 9 years of just earning money from that. That's not
Yeah,
possible in
but
business, right?
statistically, that doesn't happen too often. Like
Yeah,
some people it
yeah,
happens, but like it's statistically it's much safer to just go work for Goldman Sachs. Like, instead
yeah.
of like 0.1% chance, you've got like
Yeah, yeah,
30.
because I think that eight of 10 investment banking wannabe students, they will probably end up having a good corporate career
Yeah,
with good salary, and 9 out of 10 wannabe startup guys, or 8 out of 10, they'll just probably fail and then start a career somewhere. So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
probably, yeah. But those guys who are maybe startups and building companies, taking more trials, maybe you need more time to get into this, to quit this that valley, right? When you think that you are good, and then you are falling down and you understand, oh shit, I don't know anything about it. I don't know how to build a company completely. Like, it's much more difficult than I expected. And then you actually, from this that valley, you start learning something, start doing something that really makes a difference, and really generates revenue, or makes product or something. And this that valley is more difficult in business, building your business for sure. But if you quit, if you can complete this, if you are strong enough to go through it, you probably gonna make it probably gonna make much more, especially in the formula where you're spending, like, what is your x multiplicator when you're selling your time, when you are investing your time into something. If you are
Yeah.
working in most industries, I don't take even finance. You actually like work a lot in finance. Investment bankers, they work 80 hours per week normally. This is normal week for them. Everything below is not normal, and like taking this into consideration, your multiplicator, how much money you will earn on selling your 1 hour, investing into your job or your career, you will have much more in building your own business, because this value that you can generate and you can get is much higher. The other problem is how good you are in extracting this value from your hours, from your work, from created value that you created, and stuff like that.
You know,
It's a big talk,
one
but
one other thing that I would.
yeah, I wanted to say you have a good point of view, because you had both, right? And many people that don't have both, they have a very strange, like even like a very strange, like cloudy thinking about what is the other type of the life.
Yeah.
And I talked to these guys, managers, and they were telling me like, "Wow, you're so different. You're entrepreneurial mind. We are different. Like it's not gonna work for us." So it was so strange to see, like, to hear this from smart guys. Like IQ, average IQ is like three digit. These guys are doing like problem. Some of them were doing much more than me, and they were telling me like, "We don't have balls for that." Strange.
Yeah, I think, first of all, I think Russia has changed. So when I first arrived in 2006, it was a very different place. Like, I think a lot of the successful entrepreneurs, like, they didn't have a choice, they grew up, when the 90s were finishing, the country was in shambles. Like, you didn't have a choice whether to be an entrepreneur. You had to be. Like, that was the way you made it because there weren't really corporates and corporate jobs.
Yeah,
It was just starting in the early 2000s. And now, like, you guys have gone through the evolution that America has, which is like now there's a lot of like comfortable jobs and security, and you don't have to like hustle and stuff. Whereas, like, I think like the generation before you, like they grew up with that. So I think it's going through that evolution. And then the other thing is, yeah, I think one thing I would say is like it's very important how competitive it is to start a business. So like one thing I'm learning is the US is a very competitive place to start a business because so many people do it. And so your chance of success is very small, right? And I think like it depends on where you start the business and in what niche because and maybe yeah, I don't know what it's like. I know like 20 years ago it wasn't hard to start a successful business in Russia, in my view, as long as you knew how the system worked, right? But like you were competing against like, the babushka that grew up in the Soviet Union, right? Like if you couldn't beat her, like you were pretty bad. But now the level of competition is increasing, and it's not so easy to start a profitable business. So I think that's also kind of weighing on people.
yeah. I think that first I want to say all of these guys they are not living in Russia, so no one really
Yeah,
thinks about launching some business in Russia. Russia is not a very
yeah,
interesting market for Russian expats and migrants and people who live abroad. I would personally never launch anything in Russia in nearest future. I mean, that's a great market, amazing opportunities. Probably the easiest place to become a billionaire in the
yeah,
world. One of the easiest because if you can work in this system, uh, unlimited resources, almost unlimited,
yeah,
and there's still no competition. Like there are no
yeah,
guys there are no high quality students from China, India, Europe coming to Russia to compete for Russian market, which happens in developed markets like Britain and US, right? Those best minds from all over the world come to compete for the same market. Here is different. There in Russia, and I just it's not very comparable. My personal case, my main thing that I launched after grinding 7 years and doing my own like projects. Finally, the one thing that really happened and worked and like financially positive, generates some money, cash flow is business actually launched in US. So so only and everything I started before in Russia in Europe didn't really work out.
yeah. And
So
I think that's a testament to sticking to it. Like you stuck to it for a long time. Saw a lot of businesses fail, did not give up, and like you didn't really. I'd also say like some people, the option B is very attractive. Whereas I don't think it was for you. Like you didn't option B if it was like working for some big corporate. Like that for you is like a very sucky outcome. Like you almost sell your soul. Whereas for other people it's fine, and then they actually enjoy working in that system. And some people are really good in that system because they like this kind of political environment. So I think I wouldn't undervalue the fact that most people would not spend those years watching everything fail and stick to it.
Hmm.
That's like a pretty hard thing.
Yeah, maybe that's also not very rational, right? I mean, if you're approaching this task as a mathematician, it's
Yeah.
not rational to choose this type of story, right? You have to be. You go to industry, you make your network, you make your financial stability, your everything. So you are well prepared, you are well secured, you have everything, and only after that you can try. You have some budget for it, right? And then you can try something. But I believe that this will not work because that was a good. It was a great speech by Brian Chesky and also a great writing on that essay from Paul Graham about this difference, right? Founder and manager mode. And I think that exactly if you are not feeling this founder, if you are not able to join completely, be a little bit crazy and irrational about what you are doing, you you will not survive it. You'll be stick to the manager mode probably. And if you're in the manager mode and you're trying to calculate everything, you do only those things that are just very rational to do. You're like calculating every probability and risk things and everything. You probably will also not gonna make it. I think this approach will not work for most of the businesses. So yeah, it brings me back to this like a huge difference in mindsets of choosing career, running business, and launching products. And Ken, you was in the both like you seated in on both chairs, right? As a manager, also a high level manager, CEO, and you also feel yourself as a founder now. Um, so and like how's that and where you feel yourself more?
So, one thing I would say, and I've had this discussion with someone a week ago or so, when the article first came out, is that I think people that have been on both sides, like myself, view it a bit differently. In that, like, manager mode when you're in a corporate or something is very much it's about politics, it's about being heard and getting your impact. Like, it's what you communicate upwards, and there's a lot of things that decide your success which are not really the case in a startup, right? So for me, like the biggest difference between manager mode and founder mode is that you're playing for different incentives. That's like, and then because manager mode, you're playing for those different incentives, you behave in a different way and you take less risk, right? Like you don't want to be the one that you say, okay, I'm going to do this decision on my gut, and then it turns out to be wrong, and then everyone kind of looks down on you and you don't get promoted for the next couple of years, right? That is like a no-go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you're trained not to do that. Whereas in a startup, you're incentivized to do that because you're not trying to look good for anybody, and your default is that you're going to not succeed and die, right? So you need to be able to take, and you have a lot less information available to you because you're just starting out. So you need to go with your gut, and you need to operate at a pretty granular level because if you're not talking directly with your customers and getting those inputs, like you don't have usually high quality employees doing it for you, and you need that. Whereas if you're like a manager of a division in some corporate, whether you talk directly with the customers is really not going to influence your career much. The company
Yeah,
will continue
yeah.
selling, whatever. So, yeah, that's kind of how
That
I view it.
that's an interesting perspective, especially yeah, talking to customers. And I think that the amount of your expertise in many different directions, like sales, talking to people, like soft skills, dealing with people, managing people, um, building products, understanding products, and those. So a lot of different type of knowledge you can get if you're choosing management career. You probably hired for few of them, for like very well good people management, good like strategy, hiring, recruiting people, maybe little bit of sales. That's it. So
Yeah.
you'll not be hired for product building or other like marketing type of things, right? But if you are having a founder mode, you have a default general knowledge, like ChatGPT has a very good general knowledge in many different things and spheres and industries, right? It's a good example. I think ChatGPT
Yeah.
could be a founder because it can do everything, whatever you ask,
Yeah.
most of the things, and it will come up with maybe not the best result in the industry, maybe not the best answer, but it will come up with the answer, even if the answer is like super narrow and requires you
Yeah.
to dive deeply, especially the last model. By the way, have you checked the last model?
The
ChatGPT?
1.0 or 1.0 or something.
Yeah, 1.0.
I mean, I use it. I don't know how to tell the difference. Like, I
I
can't
think
say I've noticed
I,
something
I,
really.
I think it's just important to understand that the new model is like old model, but old model will process your the answer and will have let's say you generated some answer with a regular model and then ask ChatGPT like, hey, can you check this and validate that this answer is the best one answering my question, or can you even decompose this and like structurize this. So it's a kind of prompt engineering built-in thing that makes you can now ask more like primitive questions, and you'll
Yeah.
have more and anyway you'll have a structured and more thoughtful answers. I think it's very good, and I already tested it for some big picture strategy things, like create a strategy for product X doing Y for Z, and so on and so on. And you can ask for the big like business plans or different
Yeah.
type of tasks that require several different prompts originally to solve. And this is like a shortcut for this, like prompt engineering for many different queries. I think it's very powerful, but still, it was like so many noise again when it launched. It was like wow, like AGI is one step closer and everything. It's actually
Yeah.
just a prompt engineering shortcut, so it's not a big, not that huge
Yeah.
difference for especially for regular user. For now, it's more usable for business users, for those guys, for exactly managers who are solving
Yeah.
their job with
Yeah.
ChatGPT, doing a lot of work with it. Now they can even use more.
Yeah. About this manager versus founder mode, I have this one example that for me is like a perfect example of how this works. So I was helping this client last year, which was like an NFT e-commerce startup. And the founder was a guy I worked with in Lazada. And so I was just helping, with content and some stuff. But he had always worked in companies for the most part. And he very much had, he was a commercial person at Lazada. And so it was funded by a venture builder. And he used the same frame of mind as as almost like a corporate scaled company. So, you know, there was no, like, he didn't talk to customers, and I kept saying, hey guys, we got to talk to customers, like, when are we gonna like talk directly to customers? And they'd be like, all right, we ordered the market research, right? And they should do the market research in a month. And I was like, what, like, and that, but like at the same time they'd an engineering team that was probably costing 50 to 100 grand a month, because they had some good people and they had like 8 or 9 people. Yeah, they were building these integrations first with Lazada and this site and that site and building new features. And they just failed one after the other. Boom, 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 fail, 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 fail. And now I heard just a little while ago they're going bankrupt and they burned like $2 million of this venture builder's money. It's a Temasek thing. And it was like, having seen how startups work, like I could have told them on day one, like this approach is gonna fail, like no doubts. You cannot not talk to your customer because it was trying to sell NFTs on e-commerce sites, which there was no value prop even. Right? Like they were trying to resell basically stuff that was on with OpenSea at a slightly higher margin, and but make it available on Lazada. And like it was like, all right, like but if I buy that stuff, like why don't I just go to OpenSea? So, but it was your classic of a person who was in manager mode and operated the company like manager mode and never switched to founder mode of, hey, like I need to get my hands dirty, like I need to go talk to customers myself, I need to find the pain points. And I think that is pretty classic of people that stay in manager mode, like they just never switch to that. They're just in that mode of, all right, I'm gonna assign this person to do that and he's gonna bring me the information. So
Yeah, I also heard this story many, many times, and I think that that's the reason why venture builder model doesn't work like these corporate accelerators, like internal. When large business has some funding for investing in startups, they should find founders, real founders, and give
yeah,
them money, because these guys, if they understand problem, if they are in the market, if they are ready to go, like I don't know, jumping into the strangest places in the world just to talk to their customers, going to parties, acting like they're part of the industry, and so on and so on. Which
yeah,
which I did for one of my startups when it was in the fashion industry, which I was never in the fashion industry before. But I went to Milan, I went to some different fashion parties. I felt like, these snobby guys, I don't really want. This is
yeah,
like not the guys I will hang out with on my weekend. But I went there and tried to do my best to act as a part and be part of this industry, and I think it worked, and it helped to get some sales. And I think that's the only approach. If you are dreaming, if someone in the business, even if it's a stakeholder, has a good like idea and they are dreaming of like, well, we want to build this, and I think it will work, and they are not talking to, yeah, they're just like, they're just burning money and no value into 90%. They will not get any value from that. I see that many times, and the problem is probably if they are not understanding it from day one, from very very beginning, probably they will not buy it. Even if these managers, they will speak to the founder, and the founder will tell them, like, guys, let's do that way. Let's just like stop everything and we just like talk to people, or let's create 10 types of landing pages and run some traffic and everything. This is actually like some venture builders, I see them, they are actually, they can do some lean marketing approach at least. But yeah, many of
yeah,
them will they will not accept the founders' mindset, and working with founders will be difficult for them because they feel themselves, they have very very high feeling of importance and feeling of this corporate like politics, right? Like who is the main decision maker, what is the hierarchy and everything. And when there is a guy who has no hierarchy in his life and no rules and like no boss and everything comes to them, that they feel a bit awkward. Many people fails
yeah,
to have a good communication here. This like founders managers communication, that's actually a big issue even in companies when you are founder. For founders to manage their C level and to have this good communicate, to build this like honest and trustful communication, that's actually one of the reasons many startups failing to convert into a big company.
Yeah. Yeah. One other thing that I found really interesting today, I was watching David Su, he's the founder and CEO of Retool. And Retool has hit like a $3 or $4 billion valuation. They're growing like crazy now. They build like back end tools that are no code. But he was talking about how early on he would do the sales calls himself, right? When there were just a few people, and he's a developer, right? Um,
Hmm.
but he was talking about how he doesn't believe in PLG for a lot of SaaS and early stage companies because PLG is like product led growth. You know, like you build the product and people come, and so you just got to figure out the virality. And when he was doing the sales calls, he would talk about like at first they had the different product, and when he would talk on the sales calls, he would hear them, and it was cold calls sometimes. Like they got the cold intro, and then followed up. And people are pretty open and honest, and they don't mind if they're rude because you tried to cold call them, and so you get very honest feedback. And so he said like he iterated multiple times on the product based on that feedback because he was calling the customer. Whereas a lot of other people are like, oh, I'm just going to build the perfect product. But like, unless you talk to the customer, like, you're not going to know what the perfect product looks like. So,
Yeah.
it
And
was
that this product-led growth is also is kind of a unicorn of unicorns. Like if you watch the startups, even some growing and pretty successful startups, you will see that only one of them, like a 1 out of 10, is actually product-led growth. Other were baked by good funding, so they invested a lot in performance advertisement, performance marketing, referral campaigns, and so on and so on. So you actually see that only 1 out of 10 companies and these 10 companies is already like survivals out of 1,000 or out of 10,000. And taking this into mind, it's like you're already having a very complex business, and the complexity of thing you're building is already very high, and you want to add even more complexity, and you believe that this like card house will work out for you. That's not very realistic. I think it's better to
yeah.
that's why if I try a new idea, of course, I'm trying to see where is my unit economy survive with the industry benchmarks. If you are launching e-commerce right now, how can you sustain your economy with the customer acquisition cost of like $70 in D2C marketing in US, and so on and so on. So if you don't mind how to do that. And that's actually a good question, Ken. How do you feel? You just launched Revive, right? And that's kind of direct to consumer brand, as I understand. And it's how do how you plan to acquire your customers?
Yeah. So, what I'm doing right now, it's like the online async version of product. Yeah, like product talking to customers. So, a lot of what I'm doing right now is I'm interacting on Reddit threads and various online threads and just getting content out because I've created a lot of content on my blog. And so there's a lot of hooks and topics that I can start posting or I can respond to posts. But you get some really good feedback about how people are going to perceive, and you can't get them on the call right away, but you can get them looking at the rest of your content and especially on Reddit, like people are pretty harsh, so like they give you
Yeah,
pretty honest feedback. So that's I feel like I'm learning a lot, about how people think about the problem, how they try to solve it. So this is one way that I'm doing customer development. I'm still thinking about like I would like to talk to more people, so I'm thinking about giving free consultations or something like this. Um, and I've had a lot of people reach out over the years, so I think there would be some interest in that. But that's kind of what I'm tackling right now. And I don't want to like turn on any paid marketing until I feel like I really have the messaging and the product shaped.
so now you kind of launched a product, but it's in MVP stage where you just figuring out how to sell it, what will be the message, the unique value proposition of the product. So you are still figuring it out. The
Yeah, we
market.
have a hypothesis out there, which is there's a physical product that we drop ship to them, which is a mouth guard, and then there's this online community where there's two main parts. There's a couple of value pieces in the community. So one is I've created about 60 videos. So there's content and education, and it goes far beyond what I have in my blog. And the second one is that they can post questions and I respond to them on the community and kind of answer any questions they have. And the third one is that I follow their progress. So I offer them that if they want to keep a diary, I will track it, check it at least once a week and give comments. And yeah, it's a long-term game. So, but yeah, I think the key is going to be bringing some results to these initial folks. So I have an initial set of folks, and I try to do a really good job of like staying on top of them, and I really want to see them get some results, and then you get them hopefully like spreading the
So
word.
you already have a community, right? Already a bunch of people are using your techniques and your mouth guards.
I had a free test group a year and a half ago with that had around 20 people, but I would say some of them like they've already achieved what they wanted to, and so they're just moved on, and they're not like involved anymore. Some of them are a couple of guys like are still doing it, but they just didn't like they're invited in the community, but they're not the type of people to be very actively engaged. So now like the most active people that I see are some new people because they were the people that were active on these TMJ groups for years. So it's like a certain type of person that goes and like checks these groups and is on Facebook all the time doing this stuff. And same with kind of this. I think there's a couple of people that are coming in through Reddit. So I have a feeling they'll be the same. So these are people that like their life revolves around spending about an hour a day commenting on threads and stuff.
Wow. So this is not just this is topic of their interest, right? Which is already like
Yeah. That's
unique.
the thing about this niche is it is a niche that becomes one of the top priorities in your life. And I understand that because I was there. But when you hear the stories of these people, some of them are in constant pain. Some of them like every time they chew, they're in pain. Some of them are having headaches. A lot of them cannot work a job because of this problem. A lot of them have spent tens of thousands of dollars of their own money because insurance doesn't cover it well, right? And are just going in circles and they're completely frustrated at the doctors and dentists in the system. So you're talking, this is a problem that is top of mind for the people that suffer from it, at least in TMJ, right? There's other use cases for the product, but like the first one that I really want to tap is the TMJ one. So,
Yeah, that's interesting. I think that the fact that many people are having that high level of importance, this problem, this your product could be considered a painkiller for some people. That's the
for
key point
sure.
because
Like it is at the extreme spectrum of painkiller
if
because like it literally kills you know, the pain that is bothering them on a daily basis. Some of
but
them.
this is not a drug. It's not a medical thing that's prescribed by doctor. So I mean, this is actually by its nature. It's a vitamin by its nature. But you can add urgency and a problem solving from the problem, and if you have your own framework which like guides people how to solve their problem,
Yeah.
and this is the product is a part of all of this framework, then you convert the product from vitamin to a painkiller, and this
Yeah.
gives you I think a cheaper customer acquisition cost because people are more
Yeah.
tempted
Yeah.
to buy painkiller and pay for painkiller than for vitamins.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Exactly.
so, so very interesting where it will go. How do you?
Yeah.
Can you add more? Like, how do you research Reddit? You say you reply to threads. What is it? Do you have any kind of specific list of activities you do? You use Gummy Search, or you just go to some specific bookmarked subreddits? How do you do that?
So there's one main subreddit that I check and I'm active on. There's a second one that I've done a couple comments, which is orthotropics, which is related to the people that like they're following the muse and they want to like it's much more aesthetic in that group. TMJ forum is hardcore, like people that are suffering, right? So it's the TMJ subreddit, which has about 30,000 followers, and I was mainly commenting. But this weekend I did two threads, and one thread like I'm at the top of their subreddit. So on this thread that I posted this morning, I think I already have 5 or 6 thousand views, and it's getting a little bit controversial. And like I'm responding to these people, but some of it's getting pretty aggressive because people have fought this problem for a long time. But this is where like I'm trying to figure out the line. Like if you don't like fight back a little bit, like then people will just be like, all right, like someone was aggressive with him, told him he was full of shit, and like he just backed down, so it must be full of shit. So in some ways, you gotta like draw that line of okay, like I'm not like gonna just. So this is what's what I do on subreddit, and I have a lot of blog posts, and I just went through all my blog posts, and I said, all right, here are all the ones that I think could make for good, because I always do a post, and then I say, hey, if you want to know about this topic deeper, I wrote an entire article about it, and I posted my Substack. And I noticed that every time, like today, I expect I'll have at least 500 hits on my blog from this subreddit. So it's pretty like significant traffic.
Nice, but the capacity I think is the niche has a capacity. I mean, when you say 60,000 subrate, it's not a huge subrate, right? Because I see that some, for example, there is a subreddit about guys who are just making pictures of what they're having in their pockets. Like, I don't know what's the name of it. I forgot. They just like put everything from their pockets, put it on the table, and make a picture of it. Like they have their phone, their wallet, knife, or something else, and they flex with it. Or I don't know what they do, but it's interesting for it feels like maybe there is a kind of social or behavioral thing that gives us dopamine when we see what have other people in their pockets. Maybe there is some unique about that. And, and this is 500,000 subreddit. So I mean, probably
one thing I would say about Reddit, because TMJ is a very popular topic on Facebook groups. And so most of the people that are like in these TMJ groups are older.
When you say very popular topic on the Facebook group, what do you mean? Is a big audience in this group, and if big, how big?
So I would say on Facebook groups, like there was one that I used to follow that hit at least 80,000. But there's like 30 or 40 at least TMJ groups, and a lot of them are in that 5 to 10,000 range. But the admin controls it. So that's the biggest thing I've seen so far in my difference between, because I used to participate in those Facebook groups for years, and they're very controlled by the admin. The admin almost has like their own political agenda, and they very much enforce it. Whereas like on subreddit, it seems a little bit more open. But a lot of these people that are on these Facebook groups, they're just not on Reddit because they're very old school. These are the people that when Facebook groups was a thing.
But if they are very old school, are they your customers?
Yeah, I think my customer is, because these old school people are the ones that are very frustrated because they've been in this game for a long time, and the reality is like none of the dentists really have solutions for them.
They may be too frustrated for your product. I mean, like
they might be. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. We gotta iterate more.
You'll figure out. But it's interesting. I think that Facebook is one type of audience, and I think very few. There are specific people who sit in Facebook groups right now. Reddit is more wide, I believe, because there are all types of people, all sorts. But there are probably other ways how to connect. Probably if you will start making vertical videos for TikTok and Shorts, you will also have access to another type of audience that probably has same concerns, problems, issues, or maybe they are a little bit different because of their context, and you will have another access to them. So it's interesting.
Yeah,
Which
I'm
one
testing
you will
YouTube.
end up? Hmm. YouTube
So
first,
I started some YouTube videos, and
long form YouTube.
yeah, long form, but I'll keep the videos. Like I want to do some interviews. So I did one interview. It was like 15 minutes. So it's not going to be super long, but like 10-minute, 5-minute videos on different topics. And then eventually I want to get into some shorts. But I want to, yeah, I need to figure out the format for that more and just test a little bit. But like what I want to position myself as is more like the Brian Johnson approach,
Hmm.
right? Like, and therefore it takes a little bit of time because I'm like, I don't look yet like, like people looking like, all right, like they don't see what I'm, but like, so part of it's maybe that I just have to wait because part of what make Brian Johnson very convincing is like he's got this cut body and stuff. And so part of my story is like I'm gonna achieve that, but like until I achieve that, like people are just like, yeah, whatever, like he's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
he's
You are
like
in the
fucked in the
process.
brain. Yeah. But so that's why I want to work towards that. Like I don't want to do this as a hard sell. I want to be like, like the Brian Johnson of this field, and they're just
Hmm.
like so that's how I'm thinking about it, So right now I'm focused more on text. I'll dabble with video, and then when I finish, then I'm just gonna go hardcore in video. Like I'm gonna be just like, fuck off everybody. Like I look better than everyone now, but
Then,
I gotta get there. And so that's when I don't know when I'm gonna get there.
yeah. Then if the Brian Johnson is your like how to say it model in this market, I think you should not focus too much on Facebook groups because probably his audience is buying from Facebook ads, from Instagram, from Twitter, maybe Reddit, but not from Facebook.
Yeah, yeah.
So
When I say Brian Johnson, like I mean more just his approach as an influencer, right? That he's using
yeah,
himself as the.
yeah, his
Whereas,
faith. He already got some trust as a person.
yeah, yeah, yeah. He's a he was a multimillionaire. I think he was worth over 100 million before he ever did this. A couple 100 million. But yeah, the approach that so it's still that I want to target that TMJ crowd, but there's other use cases like anti-aging. Like eventually, I want to like prove that this is right and Brian Johnson is wrong, right? So I want his audience eventually, but the easy audience that I understand really well is the TMJ one. So, and the TMJ one is the one that like what I look like matters less to how I function and whether I have symptoms and pain and all this. So
Did you
it'll
already? Sorry, did you have already some controversial podcasts or YouTube videos with other guests from the industry from this TMG?
no. This is what so far I only had a small podcast with a friend, and he was more like it was from the perspective of a customer that was interested and kind of curious. I want to do some more like argumenting, like get someone who has a very different opinion and do. I want to dabble with that, but
Yeah, I'd
yeah,
love to see you playing versus a scientist or orthodontist who has a more systematic approach on the same things. And I want to see you guys not fighting, but what type of arguments and what level you will have in the conversation, in the discussion. And I think you
yeah,
will
yeah.
have a hot discussion on that. That could be very interesting because it will generate you a lot of content. Uh, yeah, and just me, I know already. I heard like many things, know the concepts behind, but I cannot agree with most of it. And I want to see you arguing with other people on that. I want to see
Yeah,
your
yeah.
arguments.
I will. I will. I think the argument ends up being less interesting than some people believe because they'll want to get very technical about like TMJ dentists. I've argued with them in the past, and I've even argued with them in their dental office, and they start getting very technical about how the joint works and all this stuff. At least when you're talking about TMJ. And what I'm trying to explain to them is like I have a very simplistic way of looking at it, which I think is very logical, which is that yeah, this line is here. Eventually, that all releases. And so I'm pushing this crease and releasing this tissue, and it ends up releasing all the tissue around your skull. But once that's done, the jaw repositions, the neck is where it's supposed to be, the skull is almost perfectly symmetrical, and I've done that before, right? So, like, they could tell me all the technical stuff or whatever they want, but if I'm saying that this is how it ends, and I know exactly how to get there, and I've done it before, like, they're not going to be able to change that logic. So we'll just be, like, talking past each other. Because they'll be saying, oh, but if you do this, the joint's going to do this. And I'll be like, okay, but like you do this, you do that, skull, body, perfect, I guarantee it.
But I think that you are losing in such
Maybe,
argumentation.
maybe.
Yeah,
But I
your
gotta, I gotta
arguments.
show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, these arguments are. I understand your approach, like where it comes from, like based on the personal empirical arguments. But empirical arguments versus like physical or technical, they are not that valid. Because you may just say about that. You may just come to the podcast or to the video and say that, and how can anyone prove it or validate it, test it, or even model it in the real life, right? Because if you have technical enough knowledge, like you're building a house, if you have technical knowledge, you can build it in AutoCAD and like build a 3D model of the house, and then explain like what is not correct here, how we
Yeah.
need to change it, and so on and so on. But if you don't have this knowledge, how do you argue with the architect guy or engineer guy who can do that, who can model that? That's an important question, I think.
Yeah, but I look at this a little bit like I look at it like Elon Musk looks at certain problems, right? I refuse to look at the problem the way that they do. I'm going to look at this problem the most logical way for me. And so that is where there's some leap of faith, right? But like if you look at the underlying assumptions behind what I say, it's that there's some assumption that this crease, that if it goes to the edges, like I say, that the jaw really does the jaw and the neck and everything goes into perfect spot, right? So you got to take that assumption. And the second assumption is that what I say to do it actually pushes the crease. But those are the only two assumptions you really need to believe, right? Like, and if either of those assumptions prove false, I'm wrong. But what I say as well is like I've actually seen on myself that those assumptions are true. So you could tell me that you don't believe me, you think I'm full of shit, and that's fine. But for those people, then they just need to wait until I'm done, right? And then like either I'm able to finish and achieve what I said or not. But like that's how I see it. Is they're gonna want to get into all these like technical things, and I'm just gonna say no. Like I just view the problem differently, and the people that don't want to buy into that story, they don't buy into it. But like the good thing is that these things that I'm saying that will push the crease down will have them feeling better, right? And that's something that I use that on my kid for 3 years. I use it on my wife. I use it on my dad. I use it on these test group people, and so that I know for a fact. Like these things that I'm saying push the crease down, like everyone's gonna benefit. So it's kind of like Neuralink, right? Like Neuralink, I've heard Elon talk about this a few times. Like the grand vision is massive, right? The grand vision is like in the future, humans are just going to communicate through this telepathy, and this is how we're going to plug in AI into our brain and be able to compete against robots, right? And you kind of like, all right, Elon, like if you say that that's going to happen in 20 years, you're Elon Musk, so like I'll buy into it a bit, but like it sounds far fetched right now, right? But regardless of the vision,
Not that much now because now they already know how to play chess
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
and
agree.
different computer games.
I agree. But then, like, when you look at the short term, the fact that this technology is helping paraplegics and people with neurological disorders have some kind of function and a better quality of life, you're like, oh, okay, well, if it does that in the interim, then I don't necessarily have to believe his vision right away because I'm going to feel better regardless. And that's kind of like the logic I use.
Yeah, Ken, you're always hijacking our our call,
Conversation.
startup ideas call into that. But okay,
You were
you're
curious. I wasn't going to go so
yeah,
deep.
yeah. I'm just kidding. Yeah, of course. I mean, you're always coming up with some new arguments like today. The, I'm just waiting for you to have this to push it forward because I see you are as a cult leader who probably gonna find his audience and probably gonna find a framework that will probably work out the way how you will explain it. That's a different thing because I seen a lot of different things happening when people have and they're running successfully and the explanation is a bullshit. Like people cannot explain it, cannot rationalize it, cannot find justification and formulas, and they say just it's just working. Just
Yeah, but
like you can,
what
and many people then will do it and follow it, and without understanding that how it works on a natural, on a physical level, technical level, and other, and so on and so on. So I mean, for many people, if it really works, it's cool. It's enough for most people probably. For some people, it will not still not be enough until
yeah,
it's not
but
a scientific,
Daniel,
nice explanation.
I understand your perspective. Trust me. Maybe we move on after this, but one thing you should understand. I was a competitive chess player. So I know all these things you're saying, right? But like what you're not fully getting or like you got to look a few moves down. Is that if I'm right, then in 3 to 6 months I have a perfectly symmetrical face, like with perfect edges. I have a perfect body. At 47 years old, I function like a beast. I never get sick. And that is the way I'm going to stay for decades, like if I'm right. And so therefore, like at that point, like you could like write it off, like okay, like even if Ken, like if I achieve it, first of all, like a lot of people are like, oh wait, like how the fuck does he look that good? Like he's been pigging his ass out. He looked like really shitty a little while ago. Like how the fuck did that happen? Right? That'll be question one. But then like when I continue looking like that, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years out, like by the time I'm like 60 years old, right? Like I look at this as a long game. This isn't the business that I needed to make it work in year one. So if I look like I'm like 30 years old and I'm just like functioning like I'm 30 years old and I'm 60, 65, people are going to pay attention. So that's why like you only got to believe like either I'm going to achieve that or I'm not. But if I'm going to achieve that, like eventually like it's going to be just too convincing to ignore.
People will say genetics, good genetics, or
Yeah, but
people will
I'll be able to
say
show
good
them.
lifestyle.
We'll see, we'll see. Anyway, let's move on.
Yeah, that's definitely endless conversation and endless discussion because you can see you can always come up with new things, and it's still and the more this is like a politics because the more you dive into that, the more you find topics where you need a very like technical or historical data to continue on based discussion or the discussion go to the sky. So interesting. How do you guys will launch the revive? Will interesting to see because you also have a school community, right? and you
Yeah.
already started it in school, so you have a list of videos, or how does it work?
Yeah. I've already published about 40 videos, maybe even 50.
40. How did you make them?
I do screen share and I talk. So I
Oh.
saw that at like I was part of this Easy Grow lead gen program on school,
Mhm. Mhm.
and that is all that the person did. So he would just create these documents and then screen share and talk to them. And I found it
Mhm.
quite good because you could follow what he was saying, and sometimes there were photos. So this is what I'm doing, and now I'm adding my face to some of them just to see if it's a little bit better. But yeah, like I don't put much prep in, so I just
Mhm.
have these, and I'm using my blog articles for the topics, and then so
Mhm.
the value prop is okay, like you get the blog articles for free, but then I give you the personal stories and all the details behind them in the videos. So yeah.
That's
By the way, you
interesting.
wanted to talk about Pavel Durov as well,
Oh yeah,
right?
that's the big thing that we already discussed it a month ago or more, maybe 2 months ago, when it was in the middle of summer, when the market was different, the
Yeah.
crypto market was different. It was more promising than now. And then there was this like Telegram ecosystem was booming. It's actually still booming. I'm talking to many founders who are building products for Telegram ecosystem, and I think that they are uh, for them this is the new the new narrative like AI or Web3 that we heard before. I mean, like these guys are there are actually a bunch of guys who launched and already cashed out some super successful projects, and soon we'll see how will the actually one of the biggest and fastest growing product ever. Uh, Probably they are competing with ChatGPT and Instagram and Facebook for the speed of how they acquired millions of subscribers. Because now total number of users ever played this game Hamster Combat in Telegram is more than 250 million. Can you imagine? And
Yeah.
if they are considered as a product, which uh, could be, then this could be they'll be landed in the course books for product managers and CEOs of tech companies. Yeah, super interesting story. But we cannot. I was not able to skip this small story because everyone knows that Pavel Durov, founder of Telegram, who was working on it since he built a VK, Russian version of Facebook. He basically took the style and idea and everything and just replicated it in Russia. He became one of the first like tech superstar founders in Russia. After Arkady Volosh, he's like one of the few guys who are in this. And after he had problems, he started Telegram. And the next the situation with Telegram is even more interesting, and I dived into that for recent months because I'm holding the Ton coin, which is like their currency. So I was interested to understand what are the options, what are the scenarios. And I was thinking about to build an application for Telegram ecosystem because the ecosystem is super interesting. You can acquire customers super cheaply, and the retention metrics are much better than regular App Store applications. So quite interesting to see. So what's important to understand that Durov was arrested because he had bunch of different allegations from the French government because of drug trafficking, people trafficking, adult content, everything, piracy. Like he has total like enough to imprison. They have enough to imprison him for like 25 years or something. It's crazy. Um, and important thing that he is a friend with Macron, current president, and Macron personally gave him a citizenship. He already accepted it in the media. French government, they have this passport thing for like good entrepreneurs who are, like can grow economy and everything. But that's not the thing. They had servers of Telegram and their blockchain in France, so they were really like working with France closely. And all the situation that happened with Pavel, like taken into consideration, he's another story. Like Telegram is industry is the cryptocurrency of Telegram worth more than 10 billions, maybe they were around 20 billions probably last year. This year before the summer crash, and Pavel is probably one of the main stakeholder of it. He and his team most likely are the token holders of the most of the supply of this token of the Telegram ton coin. So he's definitely multi-billionaire. Maybe on paper, maybe not in the like liquid assets like dollars in the bank account, but he's a multi-billionaire. He has a very good connection to Kremlin, because when he sold and exited VK, he made an agreement with Telegram had an agreement with the Russian government. Otherwise, it would be not possible. He will escape Russia that easy and keep some of his business assets, and some of his partners are still working with VK and so. So he had the
I always,
top level
I
connection.
always question about that. I always understood that like with VK, he kind of said he like gave it to Russia because of they wanted
Yeah,
to
yeah,
monitor him and stuff, and he kind of like
yeah.
put his middle
He
finger up and said, "Take it."
They just took it away, right? He had no chance to fight for it, and of course, no like realistic valuation. It was not possible. But the Telegram situation is different, because Telegram really started to blowing up after Pavel gave up VK. It happened a bit after. And started blowing up, and a lot of illegal things, of course. And in Russia, security is security services having access to the databases is a necessary thing to operate. That's why many companies, they were not listed, or not they were forbidden in Russia even before 2022, before war started. For example, LinkedIn, because there are some regulations in Russia. You need to have databases and keep Russian users' information in Russia, and so on and so on. So they asked many times for Telegram keys like this. They tried to probably to blackmail him, and many different approaches. But I have heard many different stories, versions of it. And I think the most realistic one is that, and they were blocking Telegram in Russia. It was for some moment in probably in 2021 or 2020 or 2019, I don't remember. So a few years ago, it was blocked in Russia, and it was working only with VPN. Right now, it's like an official internet in Russia. It's like WeChat in China. I mean, all propaganda influencers, all opposition influencers, like all the tech industry, marketing, advertisement, publishing, everything has a channel, and the Telegram is the most engaged channel, because Instagram is blocked. Facebook, Meta, all Meta products are blocked and considered terroristic in Russia. YouTube is just like 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago started to they made a like artificial slowing, so they lower the speed, broadcasting speed of YouTube in Russia, so they don't have this channel again. And all these people, consumers and media influencers, publishers, they're going to Telegram. So Telegram is number one, even in now. So a few years ago it was prohibited, and now it's an official platform, even for officials. So Russian deputies, like Russian Gosduma, which is the parliament, they all use Telegram as an official place now. And they all use Telegram for their work communication and communication with public. So you see the change, right? It's not happened overnight. Of course, it's a continuous change, but to make this change, as I heard, he had very high level contacts, and they made a deal. So he don't clean up content, and Russia can keep whatever they want. If they have some like terroristic type of things, he was kind of responsible to help them, but it didn't really work out. So yeah, to this situation, he is now feels more like a political prisoner, because this guy has a super direct relation to Kremlin. He has good relations with Dubai, because Dubai also offered him help, and Pavel officially said refused to accept any help, any embassy help from Russia and from Dubai. He said he is okay, he will work it out with his lawyers and the French government. And for me, and I also just was in France, in Paris, and people, of course, discussing it there. And I heard very interesting idea on that. Is that actually in France, just this summer, it was a very, very active fight in the political scene for again, like the leftist and rightist. There are a lot of different powers. And there also the Macron, which is not favorite person. People are people are fighting him and offending Macron, trying many different ways. And it seems to be that this could be one political power in France could work it out and show up to the world that Macron is helping this Russian tech founder with a lot of illegal and unprecedentedly shady things going on his platform. He's helping him, so they are kind of like working together. So it could be even political act versus Macron, and Pavel Durov could be just part of it. And if he would need to solve it, he'll probably solve it. He'll not just fly to Paris. So it was looked like a trap for him, or a well played strategy from someone else. And what's going on right now with Pavel? His fortune just like literally went down a lot, because the price of the token decreased like 20% and more. He's as a main stakeholder, of course, lose a lot from it, but at the same time, his token, he's the number one stakeholder, but he's also number one liquidity provider. There is a high chance he's also for him is a very good moment to buy some token and add even more liquidity into his project. So I think it's definitely and now Pavel is in Paris, but he has a home arrested, but he can walk the city with his assistants, with the security, walking to the nice restaurants and having and he's like smiling everywhere in the media and the magazines. And knowing the prehistory of this person, Like he was always posting his naked body. He's very well like built, cut, showing it off everywhere. It seemed to be like he's enjoying playing this like Bruce Wayne type of guy, arrested by the government, having a super having loyal governments who are ready to play for him and help him. And even though he's there, he's just like he's controlling the fucking cryptocurrency that is like top 10 or top 11 in the world. So seems to be
Yeah.
the game is even more. He's not in the problem, that's for sure. He's not at the risk, but the game is definitely more complex than it seemed to from what we have in the media.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know a lot of those things. Like, what I understood from my limited reading was just like there was quite a bit of illegal activity happening on Telegram, and they kind of asked them to look into it, and they didn't or something, and so they went after him. But his whole point was like, why are you coming after me personally? You should go after the company. But I have a feeling he feels pretty confident about the legal case, and therefore he's smiling. He's not that worried. But I didn't know that Russia, like the West's perception, at least from my limited reading, was more that like he was kind of the guy that said, F you to Russia, and therefore he was more Western leaning. But that's interesting that you say that actually, like they've
I
cut
think
a deal.
he has a good story, really, because I remember my first million guys they brought it to to their episode, and they have a good picture of Pavel, like exactly how Pavel wanted to sound like. A guy like he's almost like a Navalny of tech industry, who is like fighting the dictatorship. That's not how it works in Russia. And Pavel would not become who he is and where he is by building the products, two biggest tech products from Russia, built in Russia. Most of all the audience and the power users are from Russia. Right now, Telegram is also very popular in Middle East, but anyway, the roots are from Russia, and we don't know like how many servers still operate in Russia for Telegram. I don't think many, but so built everything he did without having a good conversation, good contacts, and right contacts in Russia is not possible for sure. He would be just he would disappear in
Yeah, yeah,
2014 or 2015 or something
yeah, yeah,
if he would not have good connections. So
for sure.
he did it right. He has a good position, like he is in between, so he can, if something happens, he probably can call one person, Putin minus one, like one person below, and ask for help,
Yeah,
and become part of a exchange of prisoners.
prisoners. Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. Like I remember reading about some other guy there because Russia not long ago had a prisoner exchange, and Russia had all these like companies that were hacking into U.S. systems and making money off it. And then the guy that was at the head of it, he flew to Luxembourg or Switzerland, and then they took him, put him in jail in the U.S., but they just had to give him back like a few months later, part of the prisoner exchange.
yeah, that was a very interesting prisoner exchange, a recent one.
Yeah,
It was the biggest one also, like
yeah,
30 people were or
yeah,
something. Yeah, that's crazy, and I think that Pavel is a different story. He is
yeah,
the super interesting in a super interesting position, and everything wants him. So I think that Macron also wants him. That would be super stupid for French government to lose Telegram as a potential potentially French company, they could call it, because he's the
yeah,
citizen, and they had servers in France. That's already confirmed. So seemed to be very strange to just refuse this person to be related to the country. And stop and yeah. Anyway, I think that there are different political powers fighting for another thing, and the Pavel is just like a part of it. He's definitely not the main actor.
Yeah. Daniil, I gotta. My son's behind me. I gotta put him to bed.
Oh yeah, of course. Have a good night, and
Yeah.
let's chat another week, waiting for the next edition.
Okay. Yeah, that was fun. Ciao.
Yeah.
Have a good day.
Ciao.
Bye.